So here we go again. I will try to make this concise movie. Can I be concise? So, to make it funny, I was like, George, can you just send Skylar Archibald an email that says, Skylar, could you just please don't send my girlfriend these emails that she finds creepy and threatening? So I wrote him back. I I tend to want to think Skylar is a good person. I tend to want to. I can't understand him. I know he's very compromised. I know he asked the man who sexually attacked me to resign. He told me that the lawyers for the Special Districts Association of Oregon would not let him do anything. So he's apparently held hostage and has kids to feed, so he just needs his job, right? Well, he doesn't seem to care about the discriminatory impact. He doesn't seem to understand the Civil Rights Law, the Americans with Disability Act law. He doesn't seem to even understand my point that the person claiming to represent a Northwest Senior and Disability Services program, which is DHS funded and should be following all those federal laws, hired a lawyer to try to violate all those federal laws in terms of medical privacy, disability discrimination, Civil Rights Act discrimination, gender discrimination, blah, blah, blah. So Skylar's December 2nd email was disheartening, but it was indicative of a lot, because it was like, oh wow, you are so panicked, you're trying to sort of concoct the angry letter, which I let counsel know. Yeah, should be getting a dirty letter now. Tried to go to a community center. The community center people are going to be freaking out. And his response was like, well, cool, you'll just have something for your blog. Like, no big deal. That's how you operate. So they were like 32 days late writing their nasty letter. But how it happened was I went in, they had this big discrimination spectacle, which is really embarrassing. People are still giving me weird looks about it, like, what the heck's going on? And I just wrote my letters. I got them sent off to Northwest Senior and Disability Services, why reporting a crime should not end up in long-term persecution at a community center. And it's actually, being a good citizen should be celebrated at a community center, you would think. Good citizens report crimes, good citizens work with law enforcement. And so when I called Skylar November 12th, and I was like, okay, so if I go back to the community center, you guys gonna freak out again, basically. And he's like, oh yeah, I talked with Northwest Senior, and if you just want coffee, that's fine. Because there's evidently this big kerfluffle over whether or not you have to be force-fed like a suffragette on a hunger strike by Skylar Archibald himself, the Meals on Wheels. I'm just kidding, but I asked Skylar, would you go with me? Because I'm thinking okay, he's probably taller than Chris Duffy. You can just be my tall bodyguard. So when Duffy freaks out and sends Gooch over to be his little proxy harasser, and then it's just painful to see Gooch in this position because I don't know him that well. I haven't really interacted with him as much. But what I understood was that due to Northwest Senior kind of cracking down on them sometime between probably November 3rd and November 10th, and I get word of this the day after Veterans Day from when I call Skylar, then I'm like, okay. So then I go in on the 15th. I observe a vulnerable person working there who shouldn't be near someone who's a sexual predator or sexually violent. So due to some family contacts, some friends contacts, she for her safety won't be working with the man who grabs boobs and rams his penis on people non-consensually at the Bob Chisholm. And so I go in 1 week after that to meet my senior citizen friend, and she's having her going away party. And so those are 3 incidences of me going into Meals on Wheels and kind of seeing what's going on over there. And then I have cultivated my contacts and done a lot of data collection. when I last talked to Shacey May, she basically, so I had this appointment to talk to the executive director of Northwest Senior and Disability Services the day after Skylar sends me the sort of creepy email that's like, "You're obscene," and I'm like, "No, the sexual assault is obscene." Trying to relay the information about the assault to apparent supervisors who should be in management and able to comprehend that sexual harassment is an ongoing problem, or like physical violence should not be deployed against citizens, like basic stuff. Oh, no, it's the victim who's obscene. And this is after I've been sort of taken off like a little kid who has to go to the principal's office, completely humiliated, ostracized, embarrassed, picked out by the man who sexually attacked me, has henchman Gooch come to pull me off, and then Gooch wants to inform, "You're inappropriate." And I'm like, "No, Gooch, you're his immediate superior, and I told you that it didn't progress to a complete and full rape. He, luckily he just rammed his penis on me, but was not penetrating me. So yeah, this is grotesque and this is disgusting. But I didn't choose to be a crime victim." So when I'm relaying this to Gooch, he then confabulates that, okay, she's just being obscene. Like, she just came here to be obscene. And it was in the context of, yes, I'm forgiving him. I don't have to forgive him. I just am, because that's my spiritual worldview. But I'm forgiving him. I'm forgiving him for the aggressive, violating, misogynistic lawyer who wants to blame the victim of the sexual assault and the sexual harassment. I'm, working on my forgiveness of his creepy lawyer and his avoiding any accountability. So this is sort of a summary. And how did I get this appointment with the executive? Okay, amazing. 33 minutes, bam. I was like, that was the 33-minute phone call I knew I was going to have that was going to move mountains and get stuff done. Then I basically got through a follow-up call with basically lower level but higher than I'd ever gone before, because I'd sort of capped off with Kevin Grosniklaus, who was originally outraged that Skylar was keeping this all secret from him over at Northwest Senior. And Skylar's trying to threaten me with Northwest Senior, like, this is a Northwest Senior program. And I'm like, why do you think I'm so deeply concerned that you're shielding abuse, that you're discriminating, that you are harassing clients? So there are many. How did I get there? Well, anyway, good friend. Positive focus, phone calls, just telemarketing, getting out there until you get someone to transfer you to the right person. So that's pretty cool. And in other news, climbing the echelons of DHS. So in my trying to understand that, it's really not that complicated. It's basically shell corporations, but DHS, Northwest Senior, is a 5-county sort of subdivision of DHS, and somebody can correct me if I misunderstand. So I'm basically got the email from the director of DHS, Faraborg Paksaresht, beautiful Persian name, and I was like, ooh, kind of dismissive, because I'm getting like really good progress with the women in leadership, and then like really like not good progress with the men. And so maybe that's just a gender problem, that like there's a division of labor. Like, men aren't good at dealing with other men who sexually attack women and ram their herpes penis on them non-consensually. Like, and I'm like, yeah, dude, you wrote me, okay. So I wrote him back, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to be content with dealing with Mike McCormick. I'm writing, basically, it's like, the subtext of why I'm contacting you is because clearly, just like with Tanya DeHart, the subtext is Kevin Grosniklaus was inadequate. So I'm moving up the ladder. So once again with Faraborg, I'm like, do I have to spell this out? Mike McCormick was not satisfactory is what I said. Not satisfactory. And dismissive. So I get it. He's being like super majorly sued. He's got his like $3 million consultants, Alvarez and something, who are like consulting on their foster crisis. So he's sort of like the top guy, and he's like aware of my case, and he's admitting that in the email. It's kind of, should I just read it into the, that would be way cool. And it was like, I guess I'm gonna put this on a blog eventually. And my response is like, basically hoping to keep getting there. And I think part of it is like, okay, yeah, you seem like kind of a jerk the way you write me back in the email, but maybe you're a nice person on the phone, so let's get through that. Maybe. This is a really hard name. Pakseresht, okay? Feribors Pakseresht. Feribors Pakseresht. I think I thought it was a J, okay. So, here's what he had to say. Dear Miss Ang, thanks for your email. I am aware of your case, have read the documents you sent, and have been briefed about your case by Mike McCormick. Considering Mike's position, I will defer to McCormick. I understand he's been directly communicating. Not really. We had like 2 phone calls last summer. In your concerns, and advise you there is nothing more DHS is able to do to assist. Are you effing kidding me? I'm sorry. Okay. I've had a day to cool off from this email. I want to be respectful of your time. Respectful of my time? No, you've wasted 2 years of my time with this massive incompetence. Okay. And don't see any added value in a phone meeting. Yeah. Okay. If there are additional facts that you feel have not been considered, and see, the whole thing is like, it's not a my case thing. There are multiple cases of discrimination and harassment going around, in which I basically collected a bunch of data regarding these other people who've been violently assaulted, ridiculed and made fun of, excluded from the premises, fired wrongfully, and see, I suggest, okay, if there are additional facts that you feel, I suggest you contact the law enforcement and communicate them to Mr. McCormick, who I've copied on this reply for further consideration. Oh no, anyway, poor thing. He has a really hard job, and he was sort of like put there as the like fall guy. He's like the fall guy for all the bad stuff happening with DHS. And the fact that he's Oregon Youth Authority, basically 10 years of corrections for kids, I'm like, is DHS a part of the prison industrial complex? I'm like, oh. And then, like I said on the phone with my mom the other day, it was like, fundamentally the whole principle is, you go to get your welfare, you shouldn't be sexually assaulted by someone distributing welfare. Which that's the end story, is I'm a broke chick in subsidized housing getting resources, and here's this guy who claims he does Meals on Wheels trying to sexually attack me. And I have reason to believe he will be professional, he will be trustworthy. And I think he has like a serious violence or mental problem. Something is wrong with him. I found my minutes published on the archives of Seaside Archives, and it's neat to see the progress I've made, because like as a victim I've matured, and basically my victims compensation therapist, which I've never really gotten therapy, it's kind of interesting, it might be good, I might say cool, but she embedded in the board of the communities, and I'm like, I really think I kind of converted her to be a spy, because I don't think she likes violence to women. Like, she thinks it's wrong. But I just was like, okay, well, you go your way, have fun embedding in the Park District with these like incompetent people who don't even have any representation of women. And I don't want to get in the way of your opportunity, is how I put it. And I think there's sort of like, there's hope there, because she's a bit moderate, and I feel that her moderation might be the gateway to equality for women. in this male top-heavy organization where they have a mostly male board, they have all male top positions and top salaries. I think part of what Skylar really got upset about is I pointed out how his salary is so bloated compared to everybody else, and how he's like using all this volunteer labor. And yeah, I don't think I'll get a response again from the DHS dude. But Shacey May at Northwest Senior Disability Services said maybe by the end of the year. She also said maybe don't go. And then at one point, oh my god, her phone call like deserves its whole video. She was like, but he's not the one delivering the meals. And I'm like, if you're worried that your meal site coordinator is such a deterrence to participation. And I'm like, he has access to databases, computers, program, like lists, address lists. He has access to people's information. You do not give that to someone who wants to go into people's homes of low-income people and sexually attack them. That is a security breach for those people. So relying on their desperation is all you've got. It's like, well, they have to be so desperate. And the message I get is that's very insulting to the elderly and that's very insulting to the poor.